Good morning, guys. It is Tuesday, and we are into Technocracy Rising, the Trojan Horse of Global Transformation by Patrick M. Wood. Now, Chapter 2 is From Passion to Meltdown, from 1920 to 1940. Here he looks at the level of guilt that people felt after World War I. It's when they seen how the technology they built was used in that war in such a savage manner. Let's see. And there's a gentleman that enters the picture named Howard Scott. Now, this guy is quite the character. He presents himself as being more than what he really is. I mean, he understands engineering and technology. By no means is he a graduate of anything. Well, he winds up getting a residency with Columbia University. Now, keep in mind, this is from 1920 to 1940. So, some of the ideals that Howard Scott had was considered radical. And this was during the roaring 20s, the hedonistic flappers, and, now let's face it, today, they would roll over in their graves if they seen how people behave today, without doubt. However, in 1934, Howard Scott started a company called Technocracy Incorporated, or Technocracy Inc. He wrote a manual even, and yes, it still exists. I will try to include it, so you can go look at it. Now, Scott was your stereotypical person with more intelligence than manners. He met a young guy named William Knight who just absolutely got the ideals of Howard Scott, and no matter what the guy did, couldn't shake Scott out of his life for nothing. It took him years before he finally got Scott out of his life and off his couch. Because once Columbia University terminated the project that Howard Scott was involved with, that was the end of his income, which meant he then had to move in with Mr. William Knight, and he became the relative that didn't know when to leave. Now, the things William Knight came up with he was considered he was an electric engineer and a radical socialist. And he met a common bond. Got a common bond built with Charles Steinmetz. Now, let me go back to positivism. That's kind of hard to say. The Taylorites, rather. Taylor's theories not only captivated the U.S., but the entire world, including the USSR and Germany. Taylor's famous time and motion studies proved that workers could be driven to a level of efficiency and production never realized. Basically, when properly motivated, people are able to accomplish feats never thought before. And that was huge in the USSR. I mean, of course, we gotta keep in mind that after Lenin, Trotsky, and their merry band of Bolsheviks took control of the government, uh, there was a behavioralist in Russia who figured out how to get dogs to do exactly what you want them to. And after Lenin found out about that, Lenin tried to get this doctor of psychology and behavioral to do the same thing for the Russian people. To get them to do exactly what Lenin wanted. Lenin wanted him to train the Russian people like the doctor did dogs. I can't remember the man's name for the life of me. Anyway, Technocracy and the Third Reich. Now this is an important link because when you think about all the technology that Hitler's scientists were coming up with. Now he wouldn't bother with the atomic bomb because he thought that it was Jewish projects. It was too Jewish for the Third Reich. Thankfully so. I mean, thankfully for the French and everyone else is saying he thought that because he really focused on chemical weapons with the technology he had to deliver it. His scientists, those that got away like Albert Einstein, he got away. He came to the States. And there were several of them. Check out Annie Jacobson's book she did on Operation Paperclip that details the scientists that were brought here that did horrific things in Germany, in concentration camps, to the inmates there. And they were promoted and propagandized as good scientists. These were the most horrible individuals to ever breathe air. And this very government promoted them as the good German scientists, saying they didn't know what all Hitler was doing. Hitler compartmentalized everything. No. They all knew everything. Annie Jacobson's book, Operation Paperclip, shows how all these scientists and their technology was used to kill not just people in concentration camps, but Americans, French soldiers, British soldiers, soldiers from the USSR. And she also details the real reason we had the Red Scare. It had nothing to do with the government of the USSR. It had nothing to do with it. Because during World War II, Churchill and Roosevelt were perfectly okay with Stalin and everything Stalin was doing. They deliberately left out the fact that Stalin had been partnered up with Hitler in the beginning. After Hitler betrayed him and Germany attacked Leningrad, then Stalin joined up with the alliance. Now, here's a little freebie of history. Tsar Nicholas I, the man that built the railroad system in Russia, built it to be a certain centimeters wider than what the rest of Europe used. He had the foresight to know that if they were made a little bit bigger than the standard that Europe used, this could come into their advantage. And it did. Tsar Nicholas The first was genius. So when Germany tried to invade Russia via railroad, they couldn't do it. It was those so many centimeters length, width apart that caused German trains to derail when they tried to connect to Russian railroad because they couldn't. They weren't wide enough in the undercarriage where the wheels were. Just a little freebie there. All the technology that was created during the 1920s and 30s by German scientists was brought here. Now, USSR, they got a few of them too. They weren't treated as well as the ones that came here. Once it came here, they got new backgrounds. They were promoted as the good German scientists that tried to stop Hitler. All this other crap, which none of it was true. They got beautiful big homes. Their families came over. Whereas over in the USSR, they were seen as the plague on society that they really were. Now, and Scott had this ideal of producing energy and have given people like energy dollars instead of paying for your electric with cash or out of your debit account, checking account. You would be sent a coupon, and you would use that to pay for your electric. Now, here it didn't take off. I mean, Nikola Tesla had an ideal to create free energy for people, free electricity for homes. When he said the word free, he lost his funds and eventually lost his life and all of his work because the FBI took it all. Now, here's something to think about. Brandenburg and Walker's detailed study of technocracy and National Socialism concluded with this blunt statement. Technocracy, like technology, is fundamentally ambivalent and proved compatible with the most extreme aspects of German fascism. Without technocracy, the most barbaric, irrational, and backward-looking policies of the Third Reich, including euthanasia, involuntary sterilization, and the brutal repression of the socialist movement and ruthless imperialism, ideology warfare on the Eastern Front, genocide, and efforts to create a master race would have been impossible. So, Germans tried to use all this technology to create a master race, being the white race. Never mind the fact that Hitler himself was half Jewish, something he even tried to wipe off the ancestral records, but he couldn't completely. Now, Mr. Wood details different parts in here about how the Germans used the technology. He goes into Zbigniew Brzezinski's book, Between Two Ages, America's Role in the Technocratic Era. This book was not a bestseller. It was just good enough. It caught the eye of David Rockefeller. I mean, that's it. That's about all it did. He was no genius, no great, brilliant person, social justice person like people have made him out to be. Not even close. Now, There are other books that Mr. Wood mentions in here that I plan on getting, like Richard Gardner's Hard Road to World Order. It's a book he wrote showing how some certain individuals want to create a central government to rule over every country. Then, for chapter 3, we go into the Trilateral Commission. And he talks about Jimmy Carter and Walter Mondale's involvement in all this. So, that should be pretty good. Technocracy Rising is turned out to be pretty good. It really details the history of technocracy and how things were harvested and stolen when governments couldn't get the scientists to cooperate with them. They would steal, and USSR's case, they tortured. I'm not saying they were right for doing it. I understand why they did it, but I don't agree with torture at all. Now, next week is going to be Trilateral Commission. This promises to be really good. And I think I'm going to try and get into doing 2 chapters a week. I'm going to try. Of course, I still have my daughter homesick today. As she was homesick yesterday with the same cold that I had last week. So, look for at least chapter 3 next Tuesday. I will see you Technocs later.